Hi, this is Peggy with Natural Awakening Chicago Magazine. Welcome back to Women in Wellness. This is the month-long series we're doing throughout May, celebrating women health practitioners and women in healthy businesses. And today I'm pleased to be speaking with Dr. Jessica Montalvo, MD. Dr. Jessica specializes in committing to helping motivated individuals avoid the slow loss of life that occurs with dementia. So welcome, Dr. Jessica.
Oh, thank you so much, Peggy. I'm really glad to be here.
So tell us, how did you get from your career starting in medicine, going to med school, to moving into specializing working in people with cognitive issues?
Oh goodness, it is a story. It's always a process, these journeys. Like many people, I trained in a mindset that once you started having symptoms of cognitive decline, that there was nothing you could do about it. You just had to kind of prepare for the worst. And I did my residency training in internal medicine, later specialized in palliative care. And I was seeing a lot of people with mild cognitive decline, moderate, severe,
Mhm.
late stage dementia. And I really saw how much this tore families apart.
Mm.
It was really hard to watch your loved one essentially be lost in pieces, that they really are kind of losing themselves a bit at a time. Painful to watch from, I think, the family's perspective, certainly, from the person's perspective.
Yeah.
Um, and didn't feel like we really had a great model for this. The pharmaceuticals, that we have even today really don't slow the process very much in most people. Ultimately, they don't really address any of the root causes of why people are getting these symptoms in the first place. And it was when I found functional medicine and Dr. Dale Bredesen's work
Mhm.
that I realized that actually going into an end stage of dementia is not some inevitability, that you actually have control in many situations over what happens to you. And that if you can think about it this way with people and help them really identify their biggest triggers,
Mhm.
what the biggest issues are that are pushing them to experience memory loss, that people can get better. And when I thought about being able to do this, I thought that that was a great service for people, for families, and for society. That the loss of life that occurs with dementia, as well as the tremendous strain on resources, that this is really a crisis.
Yeah.
And if we can even prevent some people from developing, late stage dementia, then I think that's an all around win,
Right.
for everybody. And so that's really my motivation, for coming to this work.
Now, when we were preparing for this, you commented that Alzheimer's dementia is not only preventable, but that women are diagnosed much more than men.
Absolutely. I think it's something like a 3 to 1 or 4 to 1
Wow.
ratio. Yeah, much more common as a woman to be diagnosed with dementia. And there's probably a few reasons for that. One of the biggest is, of course, menopause. What happens to women's brains when they experience this gradual loss of estrogen. And we have really, I think, pretty compelling research evidence that estrogen is really good for your brain. It maintains connections, and we really need that. And I think that that's one piece. And a lot of women aren't really aware that there is something to do, about this estrogen loss. There
Mhm.
are ways to approach that. I think the other reason that's also kind of maybe the unsung heroes reason is that women, they take on the bulk of caregiving work
Mhm.
in their families, and many of them are also working outside the home. Women are under a lot of stress, and we know that stress in a long period of time will absolutely affect the parts of the brain that are responsible for forming memories. They actually shrink.
Hmm.
So I think that we've all been kind of grown up in this way that we're going to, of course, do it all and we can handle everything. And I think that we can do so many things. We also need to learn, though, how to balance all of that
Yeah.
with that rest and regenerate, sort of state for the body. So I think that there's a bunch of reasons why women are more likely, to get dementia.
Yeah. One of the other things you had commented was sleep.
Mm,
A sleep
yes.
routine is exceedingly important. Now, does that tie into, now we know sleep is important for overall health and thought processes and et cetera, but is there evidence that that's tying into dementia?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
There is really good evidence that people who sleep less than 6 to 7 hours per night are more likely to experience cognitive decline. And you can see on the flip side, when you start trying to correct people's sleep, for example, maybe they've got sleep apnea and they have not been treated with a CPAP or BiPAP device, or they've been really keyed up before bedtime. They don't have like the best sleep routine and behavior associated with that. And you
Getting up
start to
and
kind of work.
texting in the middle of the night.
Exactly, keeping your phone right by your ear at night,
Mhm.
just in case
Yeah.
it rings or something, right? Just so many things that our bodies were never meant to be exposed to, this level of stimulation constantly. And you help those people with their sleep and help them get higher quality sleep, they will tell you
Mhm.
that their memory is better. They will feel certainly much better, and you can document that on, as part of an overall program. Of course, that you see people's, for example, their memory scores on a testing screen, will start to improve.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think the sleep aspect it's really irrefutable at this point. That at a cellular level, the brain suffers if it can't get enough sleep. The waste that is supposed to be cleared out at night doesn't clear out. And when you have that sort of waste accumulation, then of course you're more likely to choke off the neurons, the brain cells, and then you start to have memory loss.
Now, one of the things that you've mentioned as we were starting to talk here today is the Bredesen Protocol and the
Mm-hmm.
work of Dr. Dale Bredesen. What is that for people who aren't familiar with it?
Yeah, I'm always so happy to talk about it. I think what he's done is really just a great service. So he's actually a basic science researcher who trained in neurology and has done most of his work in the lab over the last 30 years,
Mhm.
looking for the cure for Alzheimer's dementia. And over 30 years of research,
Mhm.
really came to the conclusion that there were simply too many inputs that could lead you to dementia to expect that a pharmaceutical or a vaccine or whatever it might be was going to be the
A
answer.
cure.
Exactly. I think by late 2017, he had identified at least 36 pathways
Hmm.
that, when they are pushed in the wrong direction, can lead to Alzheimer's, what we call Alzheimer's. And so to impact all of those pathways takes a much deeper root cause approach. And he
Mhm.
really divides cognitive impairment up into about 5 major subclasses: an inflammatory type, a lack of growth factors type, toxic type, blood vessel or vascular type, and then is traumatic. And very few people are going to have an issue where they are only in one category. For the most part, they're going to span multiple categories. And it's your work as the practitioner
Mhm.
to figure out with them what are their biggest drivers so that we can figure out what are the things they most need to work on, while we really address some of the all around problems, such as sleep. We know that optimizing sleep is important, no matter what subtypes you may be dealing with. We know that having a clean eating plan and a nutrition plan that really focuses on healthy fats and mild ketosis, that these are very important things for brain health. And you're going to work on that with everybody, but it's going to look a little different depending on that person, their particular medical problems. And this is where you have to personalize the protocol.
Yeah.
Certainly for people who want to learn more, Dr. Bredesen has written 2 books. One is called The End of Alzheimer's, and one is called The End of Alzheimer's Program. Both great books. And yet people will tell me, I read the books and I'm just so overwhelmed and I don't know how to get started.
So then they
And
heard you. Yes.
Exactly.
Now your practice is located in Northfield. And what types of patients do you see? Does it tend to be more people just starting to experience dementia, or people well along in Alzheimer's, or everywhere in between?
I'm definitely seeing a variety of people. I've got a group of people who are in their late 70s, early 80s, who are experiencing clear memory loss. When I do a screening on them, the most common one I do is the MOCA, or the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. They fall into the category of cognitive impairment very clearly. Then I have another group of people who are younger. Interestingly, more women in this group, who are either really passionate about prevention. They've watched multiple family members go through Alzheimer's. They're worried about losing their independence someday. They don't want to burden their children, and they want help in preventing this whichever way they can. I also have some women who, about, again, 10 years into menopause, are having a lot of memory problems. And I'm seeing that the hormone piece is an important part of what's going on with them. It's not this exact same for everyone, and it's not the only thing, but I'm seeing that, and we're starting to kind of work through that and thinking about who is the right candidate for bioidentical hormone replacement, who, needs perhaps an evaluation for toxic burden, mold exposures, things of that nature, which tend to affect people who are younger and tend to be more the culprit in younger people who are noting memory loss.
Yeah, there was some exposure to a chemical or something early in your life.
Absolutely. Heavy metals, the environmental pollutants. I mean, you can be doing a wonderful job with, organic groceries and a clean, living environment, and yet the chemicals are just ubiquitous. It's not our fault. I think that the latest study, they always will sort of periodically look at newborns and look at the cord blood, and to get a sense of what is in mom's system and what is mom passing on to the baby. And it's something like well over 100 chemicals, can be identified, in those experiments. And I think that just shows we're in a world that is always sort of assaulting us, with different toxic exposures. We just need to be aware of that and know that some people are going to perhaps need a little help resolving that. They may not be able to resolve those toxic burdens fully on their own.
It might be too early. I don't know. Are there any studies yet on the burden microplastics and how much we're ingesting? Is that affecting dementia?
The short answer is there's no study, on it, but I'm sure we're going to find out that's part of the picture, because it feels like every time we introduce a new substance that's supposed to be better in one way or another, eventually we identify some downsides. And I think it's a spectrum, of downsides. Certainly the, plastics that are BPA, in lined, or cans that are BPA lined. We have such very clear evidence that bisphenol A, or BPA, is disruptive to the endocrine system. What's going to happen with some of these newer, synthetics, some of the new silicone products, things of that nature? I don't think we have quite the same level of evidence yet for harm, but I do think that there will probably be some evidence that shows some downsides. So I like to bring it back.
What washes out of our clothing, what's in our drinking water, what's in products we eat, everything. It's
exactly. I'm bringing it back to glass containers for myself, glass containers for my food, glass receptacles to drink out of.
Yeah. So what's next for you?
Yep. Well, I think that what I hope to be able to do is keep bringing in interested clients for this practice. I think that's a big thing that I'm interested in. Myself and my health coach Jill are also considering doing some work with some assisted living facilities that are a little further west of the city, and perhaps putting together a brain boot camp,
Okay.
for people who are interested, where we can perhaps work with people in groups,
Mhm.
have it be a more group based visit, addressing the things that people can have a lot of control over on their own, such as the nutrition aspects and the sleep and other appropriate lifestyle things, movement to, produce enough chemicals that your brain is maintaining its connections well. I think that doing something like that would be a good service again to those people, and perhaps then those who are either more severely impacted or really want that one-to-one help, may come and work with us, as clients. So I think it might be also a nice way to build practice awareness.
Yeah. So if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to reach you, Dr. Jessica?
Well, they can always go to the website, which is just mindwisehealthcare.com. You don't even need to type in 3 W's. And the icon for free discovery call
Mhm.
will take people to a calendar. I have set aside time in 20-minute increments, and I will talk to anybody, hear their concerns, answer their questions about the practice. And I will always follow that up with an email, just kind of summarizing more about what we do and how things work logistically. And if people are interested in working together, we take it from there.
Great. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you today. And I wish you much success as you're building all of your new programs this year as well. And look forward to continuing our conversation.
And thanks so much, Peggy, again for the opportunity.